Hey my pod, it's Mermaid Princess Destiny here, and I had a time of setting up my phone and my camera and all that. And today, I don't know, we are we're gonna start reading Am I the because I occasionally do read that. So we're gonna go ahead and do that one, and we're gonna do that on my tablet today. I know it's a nice day outside, but my feet still hurt, and they're bruised up pretty bad, so I don't really want to walk out there and look for geocaching. Maybe next time. Anyway, so on to it. And this first one is, am I the asshole for playing a voice recording to prove my friend, her daughter, is nonverbal? This one is voted not. So I, 30 female, has a friend, 34 female, that has a nonverbal daughter, 3 female. Let's call her Allie. I do not watch her for days out of the week in my in-home daycare. They require contracts for every child, and she never filled out the special needs section. And at no point when she asked me to take Allie, and did she mention any type of speech delay or non-speaking issues. Although Allie didn't speak much at first, I figured she was shy. She communicated her needs to me very well, and said small things to me frequently. Last month, I was in the bathroom. I kept the door barely cracked with a wedge, so I can listen for any dangers, and they can't walk in on me or see me. She walked in by and said, "Ew, you stinky." I laughed, and I told her mom at pickup when she what she said, and I was met with, "She isn't verbal. Why would you mock her?" I reassured her that Allie has spoken to me now quite a few times, and I thought that it was a huge milestone from when she first arrived and was barely saying anything. She told me she didn't believe me, and that it was messed up that I wouldn't make up something like that to upset her. I told her that I wasn't trying to upset her, but I wasn't lying either. I didn't press the issue further. Here's where I might be. I decided to record Allie, a voice recording, not her face, and telling me her name and what her favorite animal is. I had full intention of showing Mom the recording, but I was scared at first because of her blow up at me, and I didn't know how she would react. After a few short pickups and drop-offs, and she told me it was water under the bridge, and that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She even insisted that I went to the birthday party. After that, I was just happy Allie could continue, and I ended up forgetting I had the recording at all. Fast forward to Friday, about a month later. She had a birthday party for her other children at the party. I was socializing with other family members. Honestly, I am a total for forgetting that her family fully thought that she was nonverbal. I mentioned the funny things Ali Hassan said to me while we were reading an animal book. Turns out the person I was talking to was her sister, and she started yelling at me saying she is nonverbal. Why are you lying? Both her and her sister started berating at me, saying that it's not fucked up that I'm making this up about Ali being verbal. At this point, I'm tired of being called a liar. I have two disabled children whom my son was nonverbal for many years. I wouldn't lie about something like this. So while everyone was staring at me, I was scared and felt backed into a corner. So remembering I had the recording, decided to prove my case and play the voice recording. Everyone was shocked, and my friend told me to leave. I told her I didn't want to cause issues, but I'm not going to be berated and called a liar. She said that I'd crossed the line recording her daughter, that I'm for embarrassing her at the party. And now I feel horrible and wondering if I should have just let it go. Edit for clarification. Ooh, there's an edit in this one too. That's great. Whenever she would pick up and drop off, she wouldn't ask me how much other than how now was her nap, how much did she eat, and I would hand her the daily report, and then she would leave and not stay for a small talk, even when I would try to initiate. I know people have busy lives, so I'm not going to try to make them stay and talk to me about their life story. I also didn't do the recording to embarrass her in any way. I didn't mean any vindication. Yeah. I didn't mean any vindication by it. I can't admit I should have shown her immediately after I recorded it, but I'm also human, and I was afraid of a second blow up. Then after her saying it was water under the bridge, I was just happy that she wasn't gonna take Ali away, so I didn't put it in the back of my mind and forgot about it. I feel bad about how I went about my defense, hence the post. I know it was unprofessional and unethical. I apologize profusely to everybody at the party and the family as well. I will be putting cameras in my home that everyone will have access to, as well as updating all the contracts to let parents know what is going to happen going forward. Peace of mind for everybody sounds good to me. Also, I will be making a call to CPS about the situation and see what they have to say. Thank you everybody for your kind words. Okay. Let's put my opinion on this first. Before we look at the comments. I would say not the because you pretty much did the right thing, even though it was unethical. I would probably end up doing the same thing of recording the child if I were you. But you did make a screw up where that the timing was a bit of a screw up. So the timing of it was a bit of a screw up. You should have you probably needed a reminder of that recording when the day was over and the kid's parents and your friend came to pick them up. I would have tried to remember that at least. Okay. Since they're voted not, let's see what other people say. OP has offered the following explanation for why they didn't. I think they might be the. I believe I did not might be the asshole because I made a voice recording of my friend's daughter. Then I proceeded to play it at the party to prove my point, which in turn embarrassed to her. I don't think you're the asshole because you didn't intentionally embarrass her. Yeah, you should have just tried to play it after play it that day before the party. This person says, not the I can't imagine now what this child is going through and being treated now like she's completely nonverbal when that's not the case. In fact, I can't help but wonder if the way her mother seems to react may have a part to play in why she's not verbal around her mother. That being said, you did the right thing trying to bring this to the mother's attention in a polite and calm manner. Her reaction was unreasonably abrasive. As any parent of the nonverbal child would be over the moon to hear and that the child is beginning to make progress. I don't think recording the child's voice was in the wrong. You weren't posting it all over the internet. You weren't going behind the mother's back and showing people the recording. And you only did it after she berated you for lying, and which wasn't the case. You recorded the voice to specifically try to update the mother on her daughter's condition, as having that updated knowledge is important. I would normally say it may have been a better option to ask permission to record the child's voice, but judging by the way you describe the mother, I feel like that probably would have just led to more conflict in the first place. ETA. Also, she embarrassed you at the party, not the other way around. It's not your fault she feels embarrassed for not knowing her own kid better. Okay. So she responded to that one and she said, unfortunately, I use the term friend loosely. I didn't used to work at the daycare her daughter went to when she was a baby. I was the baby room lead teacher. I left the daycare about 2 years ago after dealing with other teachers trying to verbally or emotionally abuse the toddlers. I called the state on them, and they told me to keep my mouth shut or I'll be fired. So I left. When she got wind that I had in a home daycare about 2 months ago, she called and asked for a SWAT. Up until a month ago, she seemed nice and well put together, but now I'm not so sure. Yeah. Yeah, nobody really thinks that you're the asshole. I don't think that you're the asshole either. If you're one of my viewers, then this is my message to you. You pretty much did the right thing. And it's also a good idea to tell CPS about it, because being emotionally abused, being medically being emotionally abused in any way is not good, and that um, and the kid is not safe at home because of it. That's why the kid wouldn't be talking. Okay. So that's the first one. And I also don't know put it. Well, I'm not gonna read it on my tablet because they won't because they won't allow me to sync my account on here, since I have a Reddit account too on my phone with my tablet. So that's how it is. So I am pretty much going to read you a couple of my the that I put up. Okay. Alright guys, this is one of mine. I wanted to let you know that that I got a couple in my here. So this one I called, and my for having fun with a former friend I knew since I was 12. Okay. I had fun with a former friend I knew since I was 12 years old a few years ago. Yeah, this happened like about 3 years ago. So, and back then I didn't know that I had Am I the Asshole? Just so you guys know. A few years ago, the day after my birthday, me, female, now almost 30, back then I turned 27, him about to be 31, and now but 28 back then. I was just minding my own business at the bar and playing on my phone and hanging out with friends. A Colombian went up to me and asked to dance with me. Colombians come into town to plant trees around my birthday. The Colombian got made a dance with him and his friends. Remember, I have autism. I can't process things quick enough. I didn't process it right away, so I went ahead and danced with them for a while. When I did process what was going on, I saw that I was in the middle of a bunch of guys, and I realized I was too late and I couldn't get out. I got scared, and then this is when the guy came in. So the guy I knew since I was like 12 helped me out of this situation, and when the guy came in. Okay, situation, and I went back to my friends. Sorry, I went to the original line. I went. The Colombian tried to get me to dance with him again, and I went back to my dance with him again, and then the guy and my friends got him to stop bothering me, which is great. I started hanging out with the guy, and he took me home. Then I invited him in for safety, to make sure that none of the Colombians didn't follow us to my apartment. One thing led to another, and we had fun twice. The first time was the night I went home, and I didn't know he was in a relationship with his baby mama. He broke up with his baby mama over the phone, and I'd let spend and I let him spend the night at my house and then share a bed with me. But that's because I didn't know that they were together. The next day, we had a quickie, and he left. And then a few hours after that, his baby mama texted me over Facebook, and I got my chewed out by her. Where was I? I lost my place. I had to get out of something. Damn it. Okay. I apologized for having sex with him, and I explained that I didn't know. She didn't believe that I didn't know, probably because the guy told her that I did know, but that's not true. About a week or two later, I then went back to the bar to listen to the DJ, and the baby mama's mother went up to me and interrogated me about sleeping with the guy. I explained to her that I didn't know, and I was on the verge of crying while doing it. The baby mama's mother believed me, and I was relieved of that. The baby mama texted me again to pick the argument with me again. I then just told her that I wasn't going to admit to what's not completely true, and I blocked her. We haven't spoke since. Am I the asshole for sleeping with a guy who I knew since I was 12 and for not knowing that he was in a relationship? I figured out how I was going to do this. Yeah. So that was my first Am I the and the comments for me said, not the you didn't know he was in a relationship and you handled it maturely once you found out. I responded, thanks. And another person said, well, at least you can say you've known him since before his baby mama drama. But in all seriousness, you didn't know and you apologized. That's all then you can do. Hopefully the baby mama will eventually realize that and move on. Another person said, not the you didn't know. He was taking. That's on him, not you. I responded, thanks. There we go. And and there wasn't more. So do you guys think that I was in it? I didn't want my viewers' opinion on it too. Even though I now know that I'm not the asshole, I still would like your opinion. I want you guys to be part of it too. Okay. So that was one of my first I'm not the asshole. That was about a few years ago, and I'm gonna do one more of mine that's not, and we're gonna be done for today. Okay, this is the last, am I the, and this one is one of mine. And this one was actually scary, even though it was when I was 25. Even though this happened when I was 25. It was actually very scary for me. And it, really happened. And just for you guys to be sure. Am I the for not going to church because a guy in his 60s wanted me to be his girlfriend? I, female about to be 30, stopped going to church because a guy, male in his 60s, was getting me to be in a relationship when I started to get used when I was starting to get used to driving when I was 25. So I was still going to church while I was 25, and while I was getting used to driving, a guy from the same church I went to as said that he wanted to help me to get used to driving. I accepted it because he was a church member, and usually members are trustworthy. As you can say, usually. I said usually. Not always, usually. We started going on trips, and he was helping me get used to driving. During the time I was getting used to driving, he took me to date spots. I started getting uncomfortable at this point, and to make it worse, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said, maybe if you were my age. He asked again, and I said, yeah, if you were my age. He didn't hear the second part and started calling me on the phone and started calling me his girlfriend. I explained that I wasn't his girlfriend. I never was and I never will be, and that he was too old for me. When I got my first car, he tried to take a ride with me a few times, and I started to back off. I also started to be blunt and honest, and I saw him as a pervert. I told my family about it and my therapist about it, and they told me to avoid church and tell the pastor about it. I told the pastor and his wife about it, and they talk to the guy about it. He completely lied about it and said that he was just being helpful, and that was a bunch of bullshit because I heard it and witnessed it. I tried to avoid him ever since, and it got to the point of me stopping and going to church completely. When he tries to call me, or if I see him, I make the conversation brief, and I set a wall between us. And I think I stopped him from contacting me completely. The guy is the reason why I don't go to church anymore. Am I the not going to church because of a guy in his 60s and probably heading into his 70s by now? And when this happened, it was 5 years ago, and to this day, I'm still bothered by it. Edit. Because of the guy trying to date me, I left the church and my Christian beliefs died out. Yes. That is one of the scariest stories I've been through in the past 10 years. Okay. So, they pretty much long-winded orgy and said not the word, and I think you're lucky in that tonight you have your eyes open to what permissive blind eye to abuse places churches can be, and frankly are now more often than not. There's a reason perverts are pedophiles. Do much of their predation in and through churches. That's no accident. That's not a coincidence. Religious establishments make that easy or at least easier. That's why repeat offenders often end up closely tied to their religious. Not because their religions, not because they're especially pious or faithful, but because that's where they find the most fertile hunting ground. That's why I didn't bristle so much, and whenever anyone assumes Christians are good people. They can be sure, but no more than anyone else. While they have plenty of somewhat unique and inventive ways to be awful. Maybe it's time to leave. Just because you grew up in church doesn't mean you have to have an obligation to keep going, especially after what happened. It's obviously not a healthy environment for you anymore. I also didn't grow up in a church but stopped going when I became an adult. Whether you go to church or not is completely up to you. You can leave for any reason. Absolutely not the Okay. So everybody is pretty much saying not the asshole, and I did the right thing for keeping my eyes open and leaving. But this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. I want you guys to hear it. This person is being hypothetical or sarcasm. Oh, absolutely. It's totally your fault that an older man who was definitely just trying to help with your driving turn the situation into something uncomfortable and manipulative. I mean, who wouldn't want a middle-aged guy tagging along on their driving lessons and taking them to date spots? Totally normal. And of course, when he started calling you his girlfriend after you said no twice, that's just a sign of harmless misunderstanding, right? Clearly avoiding church and setting boundaries was an overreaction. I'm sure you could have just kept showing up to get helped by the guy who totally wasn't crossing any lines. And everything would have been fine, right? In all seriousness, you have every right to step away from a situation that made you uncomfortable, especially when it involves someone who clearly didn't respect your boundaries. You're not. This was my response to it. I love your sarcasm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's hilarious. I love that one. That was freaking awesome. That was like my favorite comment out of all of them. Alright, so that was mine. And I'm still laughing at the comment. Anyway, those were a couple of my ask and my and this would be my first video of reading off Reddit MI. I hope you guys liked it, and maybe I'll continue it because I occasionally do read MI. I didn't. Maybe you guys would like it. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.